The sky turned black at exactly 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Not with clouds or smoke, but with ships. Thousands of them, each one bigger than the largest city on Earth. Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of his destroyer ship, the New Horizon, and watched the alien fleet fill the sky above Earth. He had been in the Navy for 12 years, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The ships were dark and silent, like giant birds of prey waiting to strike. "Captain, we're getting reports from every major city," his communications officer said. "They're everywhere. London, Tokyo, New York, Moscow. The whole planet is covered." Jake nodded, but said nothing. What could he say? Earth's entire fleet had only 200 ships. The alien force looked like it had 10 times that number, maybe more. Each alien ship was at least 5 times bigger than his destroyer down on Earth. People stopped what they were doing and looked up. Children pointed at the sky from school playgrounds. Office workers pressed their faces against windows. Cars pulled over on highways as drivers stared upward in shock. In the White House, President Elena Martinez sat at the head of a long table filled with world leaders connected by video screens. The room was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers and the occasional cough. Everyone was waiting for something to happen. "How long have they been there?" asked the Prime Minister of Britain. 43 minutes, replied General Adams, the head of Earth's military forces. They appeared all at once, like they were already here, but invisible. Dr. Lisa Wong sat in the corner, her laptop open, trying to make sense of the data streaming in from observation posts around the world. She was Earth's top expert on alien life, though until today, that had been mostly theoretical work. "The ships are scanning us," she said quietly. "I'm picking up energy beams moving across the surface. They're learning about us." President Martinez felt a chill run down her spine. "Learning what? Everything. Our cities, our weapons, our people. They're mapping us completely." Suddenly, every screen in the room flickered. The same thing happened in every home, office, and public place on Earth. TVs, computers, phones, even. Electronic billboards all showed the same image. A tall, thin creature with gray skin and large black eyes. The alien spoke in perfect English, though its mouth barely moved. "I am High Commander Vexter of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has been selected for integration into our domain." Jake felt his hands grip the rail of his ship's bridge tighter. The voice was cold and emotionless, like a machine announcing bad weather. "You will surrender all weapons and military forces," the alien continued. "You will accept imperial governors who will rule your world. You will provide tribute in resources and soldiers for our armies. You have 72 hours to comply." The message repeated in every language on Earth: Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, Russian, Hindi. The aliens had studied humanity well in the White House. The world leaders looked at each other through their screens. The president of Russia spoke first. "This is impossible. We cannot fight them. We don't even know if we can hurt them," added the Chancellor of Germany. "Their technology is clearly far beyond ours." Dr. Wong looked up from her computer. "I've been analyzing their transmissions. This isn't the first time they've done this. The patterns suggest they've conquered hundreds of other species using the same methods." "What happened to those species?" President Martinez asked. "Based on the data patterns, they become slave races. Workers, soldiers, servants. Their cultures are erased, their people scattered across the galaxy." Jake listened to the alien message repeat on his ship's speakers. His crew looked to him for orders, but what orders could he give? Fight an enemy. That could destroy them without breaking a sweat? Run away and hide while Earth burned? "Sir," his first officer said quietly, "what do we do?" Jake looked out at the alien ships hanging in the sky like a death sentence. "We wait for orders from Earth Command." But even as he said it, He knew what those orders would be. Earth's leaders would have to choose between death and slavery. For any other species, it might be an easy choice. Survival was the most basic instinct. Hours passed. The alien ships remained motionless, waiting. Down on Earth, panic started to spread. People rushed to stores to buy food and water. Some tried to flee the cities, creating massive traffic jams. Others gathered in churches and temples to pray. Dr. Wong worked through the night, analyzing every piece of data she could gather about the aliens. What she found made her stomach turn cold. The Zephyrian Empire had a system. They would arrive, make their demands, and then wait. If a species surrendered, they would be enslaved but allowed to live. If they refused, they would be destroyed as an example to others. They've done this 317 times, she told President Martinez in a private meeting. Every single species has eventually surrendered. Eventually? Some fought back at first. But the Empire always wins. They have resources we can't imagine, weapons we can't understand, ships that make our best technology look like stone tools. President Martinez stared out the window at the alien ships. And if we surrender? Humanity as we know it ends. We become another worker species in their empire. Our children will grow up as slaves, never knowing freedom. The president was quiet for a long moment. And if we fight? We die. But we die as free people. On the new horizon, Jake received a message from Earth Command. All ships were to maintain position and await further orders. No aggressive action was to be taken. The politicians were still hoping for a diplomatic solution. But Jake knew better. He had seen the alien ships, felt their presence like a weight pressing down on his soul. These creatures hadn't come to negotiate. They had come to conquer. The 72-hour deadline was approaching. Around the world, people waited to learn their fate. Would their leaders choose survival through surrender or death through defiance? President Martinez called for a final vote among the world leaders. One by one, they gave their answer. Some voted for surrender, believing it was the only way to save human lives. Others voted for resistance, saying that life without freedom was not worth living. In the end, the vote was close. But it was enough. President Martinez stood before the cameras to address not just Earth, but the alien fleet waiting above. Her voice was steady, her words clear. High Commander Vexter, you have given us a choice between slavery and death. We choose death. We choose freedom. Earth will never surrender. The message went out across the planet and up to the alien ships. In the silence that followed, Jake felt something he hadn't expected: pride. Humanity had chosen the hard path, the dangerous path. But it was their path. The sky filled with light as the alien weapons began to charge. The first wave hit Earth like a hammer. Jake felt the new horizon shake as invisible energy swept across the planet below. Every light went out. Every computer died. Every phone stopped working. In seconds, human civilization was thrown back too. 100 years. Emergency power online, his engineer reported. Military ships had better shielding than civilian technology, but even they were damaged. We've lost 60% of our systems. Through the bridge windows, Jake watched the alien ships move into attack formation. They spread out across the sky like a dark cloud, each one taking position over a major city or military base. On Earth, Major Sam Rodriguez stood in the command center of Luna Base, humanity's main military station on the moon. The base was Earth's first line of defense, armed with the most powerful weapons humans had ever built. But as he watched the alien ships approach, Sam knew it wouldn't be enough. Contact with Earth Command is lost, his communications officer reported. The electromagnetic pulse knocked out most of their equipment. Sam looked at the tactical display. 50 alien ships were heading straight for Luna Base. His station had weapons that could destroy any human ship in seconds, but he had no idea if they would even scratch alien armor. "All units, prepare for battle," he ordered. "This is what we trained for." But nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. The alien ships opened fire with beams of red light that cut through the moon's surface like a hot knife through butter. Luna Base's shields lasted exactly 3 seconds before collapsing. The first beam hit the main reactor, causing an explosion that could be seen from Earth. Sam and his men fought back with everything they had: missiles, laser cannons, particle beams. Some of their weapons actually damaged the alien ships, burning holes in their dark hulls. But for every alien ship they hurt, 10 more took its place. "Sir, we can't hold them," his tactical officer shouted over the sound of explosions. "They're too many." Sam watched his base burning around him. Good men and women were dying, but they were taking aliens with them. That was something. "Then we make them pay for every inch," he said. Down on Earth, the real attack began. The alien ships didn't try to destroy everything at once. Instead, they struck with surgical precision. Military bases vanished in flashes of light. Government buildings crumbled under focused beams. Power plants exploded in brilliant fireballs. But the aliens were careful. They destroyed what they needed to destroy, but left the rest intact. They wanted Earth broken, not ruined. Dr. Lisa Wong crouched in an underground bunker beneath Washington, D.C., her laptop connected to one of the few working observation satellites. What she saw made her blood run cold. "They're not trying to kill us all," she told President Martinez over a crackling radio. "They're trying to break our will to fight." "What do you mean?" "Look at their targets. Military installations, government centers, communication hubs. They're cutting off our ability to coordinate and fight back, but they're leaving most of the population alive." President Martinez understood. "They still want us as slaves." "Exactly. Dead slaves are useless." But the aliens had underestimated human stubbornness. Above Earth's atmosphere, Jake led his destroyer and 20 other ships in a desperate attack on the alien fleet. The human ships were like mosquitoes attacking eagles, but they fought with the fury of the desperate. "Target their weapons," Jake ordered. "If we can't destroy them, maybe we can blind them." The New Horizon fired everything it had at the nearest alien ship. Missiles streaked through space, exploding against energy shields. Laser beams carved glowing lines across dark alien hulls. For a moment, Jake thought they might actually win. Then the alien ship returned fire. The beam that hit the New Horizon was different from the others. Instead of destroying the ship instantly, it seemed to drain its power. Systems failed one by one. The lights went out. The engines died. The ship began to drift helplessly through space. "Hull breach on Deck 3, someone shouted. "We're losing." "Air." Jake grabbed the ship's intercom. "All hands, abandon ship. This is not a drill." But even as his ship died around him, Jake felt something like satisfaction. They had damaged the alien vessel. Not much, but enough to prove it could be done. Around him, other human ships were suffering the same fate. But they kept fighting until the very end. Some captains rammed their ships into alien vessels when their weapons failed. Others used their ships' reactors as bombs, taking aliens with them when they died. The battle above Earth lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the human fleet was gone. But so were 30 alien ships. It wasn't much, but it was a start. On Luna Base, Sam Rodriguez made his last stand in the command center. Half his men were dead, and the base was falling apart around them. But they had destroyed 7 alien ships and damaged 12 more. "Sir, they're breaking through the final perimeter," his lieutenant reported. Sam looked at the self-destruct button on his console. If he pressed it, The base's reactor would explode with the force of a small nuclear weapon. It would take out whatever aliens were left on the moon's surface. "It's been an honor serving with you all," he said, and pressed the button. The explosion lit up the night sky on Earth. Down in her bunker, Dr. Wong felt the ground shake from the blast. She knew what it meant. Luna Base was gone, but it had hurt the aliens badly. "How many ships did we destroy?" President Martinez asked. 37 confirmed, Dr. Wong replied, reading from her computer. "And we damaged at least 50 more." "Out of how many?" "Several thousand." The president was quiet for a moment. "So we barely scratched them. But we did scratch them. That's more than most species accomplish." Over the next few days, the pattern became clear. The aliens would attack. A target. Humans would fight back, and both sides would take losses. But for every alien ship destroyed, humanity lost 100 times more in people and equipment. Cities burned. Military bases were reduced to rubble. Governments collapsed as their leaders were killed or forced into hiding. But still, humans fought in. The ruins of New York, police officers and soldiers worked together to evacuate civilians while fighting off alien ground troops. In London, the Royal Air Force flew their last planes in suicide attacks against alien ships. In Moscow, tank crews charged, alien walkers in battles that lasted for hours. The aliens began to realize they had made a mistake. Every other species they had conquered had eventually seen the hopelessness of resistance and surrendered. But humans seemed to get angrier the more they lost. Dr. Wong discovered something interesting in her analysis of the alien tactics. "They're not used to this," she told President Martinez. "Their previous conquests all used energy weapons and force fields. But we still use bullets and explosives. Why does that matter? Because their defenses are designed to stop energy weapons. Our primitive kinetic weapons are punching through their shields in ways they didn't expect." It was a small advantage, but it was something. Human weapons might be ancient by galactic standards, but they were effective in ways the aliens hadn't. Planned for as the first week of the invasion ended, Earth was a different world. Cities lay in ruins. Millions were dead. The sky was filled with alien ships that seemed impossible to defeat. But humanity had learned something important. The aliens could be hurt. They could be killed. And most importantly, they could be surprised. In bunkers and caves around the world, the survivors began to plan. If they couldn't win through direct confrontation, they would find another way. Humans had always been good at adapting to impossible situations. The war was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. President Martinez made one last broadcast. From her underground bunker, transmitting on frequencies the aliens couldn't block. Her message was simple. "This is President Martinez to all surviving military units and civilian resistance groups. We are not defeated. We are not broken. We are human, and we do not surrender. Keep fighting. Make them pay for every inch of our world. Show them that freedom is worth any price." The message spread through hidden networks and secret channels. In the ruins of Earth's cities, people heard it and felt something they hadn't felt in days: hope. The Empire had expected Earth to fall in a matter of days. Instead, they found themselves facing an enemy that refused to die. 6 months had passed since the aliens first appeared in Earth's sky. The world above ground belonged to them now, but below the surface, humanity was far from defeated. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos crouched in the ruins of what used to be downtown Los Angeles. Around her, twisted metal and broken concrete created a maze of hiding places. The alien patrol walked past just 20 feet away, their tall gray forms moving with mechanical precision. Maria held her breath and waited. She had learned patience in the months since the invasion began. The aliens were strong, and their technology was advanced, but they were also predictable. They followed the same routes, checked the same places, and made the same mistakes. When the patrol disappeared around a corner, Maria signaled to her team. 20 men and women emerged from the rubble, all of them carrying weapons taken from dead aliens. It had taken weeks to figure out how to use the alien guns, but now they were deadly effective in human hands. "Remember the plan," Maria whispered. "In and out, fast and quiet. We hit their supply depot and disappear before they know what happened." Her team nodded. They had done this dozens of times before. The aliens might control the surface, but the underground belonged to humanity. The resistance had grown from equality. Few scattered survivors into a network that spanned the globe. In every ruined city, in every destroyed town, humans fought back. They used the sewers, the subway tunnels, the basements and caves. They struck at night and vanished before dawn. Captain Jake Harrison stood in the command center of Asteroid Base 7, one of dozens of hidden facilities scattered throughout the solar system. His ship had been destroyed in the first battle, but he had escaped in a life pod and made his way to this secret base. "Report," he said to his intelligence. "Officer, the resistance cells in Asia hit 3 alien supply convoys last night," the officer replied. "The European cells destroyed 2 communication towers, and the Australian group successfully captured an alien transport ship." Jake nodded. It wasn't much compared to the massive alien fleet, but it was progress. Every small victory made the next one easier. The base around him was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid. It was invisible to alien sensors and could house over 1,000 people. Similar bases existed throughout the asteroid belt, each one a thorn in the Empire's side. "What about the new weapons?" Jake asked. "Dr. Wong's latest batch arrived yesterday. The biological agent is ready for field testing." Jake felt a chill. Dr. Wong had been working on weapons that could kill aliens without harming humans. The moral implications were staggering, but desperate times called for desperate measures. Deep underground on Earth, Dr. Lisa Wong worked in a laboratory that had once been a subway station. Her equipment was a mixture of salvaged human technology and captured alien devices. The combination had allowed her to create things that neither species could have built alone. "The virus is ready," she told her assistant, a young scientist named Peter Clark. "It targets the specific proteins in Zephyrian blood. It should be 100% fatal to them, but completely harmless to humans." Peter looked at the small vial in her hands. "Are we really going to do this? What choice do we have? They're systematically destroying our civilization. Every day they hold our world, more humans die." Lisa knew that using biological weapons crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. But she also knew that humanity was running out of options. The aliens had superior technology, superior numbers, and superior firepower. The only advantage humans had was their willingness to do whatever it took to survive. Above ground, the alien occupation continued. High Commander Vexter stood in his command ship, studying reports from across the planet. The conquest of Earth was taking far longer than expected. "The humans continue to resist," his tactical officer reported. "Our casualties are mounting." Vexter was puzzled. In 300 previous conquests, no species had lasted more than a few weeks. Most surrendered after the first demonstration of imperial power. But humans seemed to get more dangerous the longer they fought. "What is different about this species?" he asked. "They adapt quickly. They learn from each encounter. And they seem to have no concept of hopeless odds." Vexter had studied the humans extensively. They were not the strongest species he had encountered, nor the most intelligent. But they had something that other species lacked, a stubborn refusal to accept defeat. "Increase patrols in the major cities," he ordered. "Find their leaders and eliminate them." But the human leaders were harder to find than expected. President Martinez had moved her government to a series of bunkers connected by tunnels beneath the Rocky Mountains. From there, she coordinated the global resistance. We're getting reports of successful raids on every continent, she told her staff. The aliens are spreading their forces thin, trying to control everything. What about casualties? Asked General Adams. Heavy, but not as bad as we feared. The resistance cells are getting better at hit-and-run tactics. The president looked at the map on our wall. Red dots marked alien strongholds, while blue dots showed human resistance cells. The blue dots were growing in number. How long can we keep this up? She asked. As long as we have to, General Adams replied. The aliens expected a quick victory. Every day we survive is a victory in itself. In Los Angeles, Maria Santos led her team through a drainage tunnel toward their target. The alien supply depot was heavily guarded, but it contained weapons and equipment that could arm a dozen resistance cells. Movement ahead, whispered her scout. Maria raised her hand, and the team froze. Through the darkness, she could see the glow of alien technology. 2 guards stood at the entrance to the depot, their weapons ready. Maria had been a teacher before the invasion. She had never imagined she would become a soldier. But war had a way of changing people. Now she was one of the most effective resistance leaders on the West Coast. She signaled to her sniper, a former police officer named Danny Lopez. 2 silent shots later, the guards fell. The team moved forward. Inside the depot, they found crates of alien weapons, medical supplies, and communication equipment. But the real prize was something else, a computer terminal that contained data about alien operations across the planet. Download everything, Maria ordered. Intelligence is worth more than weapons. As her team worked, Maria kept watch. The aliens would discover the raid eventually, but by then the resistance would have gained valuable information about enemy movements and plans. Back at Asteroid Base 7, Jake received a message that made him smile. It was from Maria's team in Los Angeles, and it contained the location of a major alien command center. Prepare the fleet, he told his officers. We're going hunting. Jake's fleet consisted of mining ships, cargo haulers, and civilian vessels, fitted with weapons. They weren't much to look at, but they were fast and maneuverable. More importantly, they were crewed by people who had nothing left to lose. The attack on the alien command center was planned for maximum impact, while Jake's ships provided a distraction from space. Resistance cells on the ground would strike at the same time. The aliens would be caught between 2 forces. Dr. Wong watched the preparations from her laboratory. Soon, her biological weapon would be ready for deployment. It would change the war in ways that no one could predict, but she also knew that using it would change humanity as well. Once they crossed that line, there would be no going back. The question was whether they could live with the consequences. We're not the same species we were 6 months ago, she told Peter. Is that good or bad? I don't know, but it's necessary. The resistance had learned to think like the aliens, coldly, rationally, without mercy. It was the only way to survive. Against an enemy that showed no mercy themselves. In the ruins of London, a resistance cell led by former RAF pilot Sarah Murphy prepared for their next mission. They had been tasked with destroying an alien communication tower that coordinated attacks across Europe. The charges are set, her demolitions expert reported. The tower will fall in exactly 10 minutes. Sarah nodded. She had lost her entire squadron in the first week of the invasion. Now she fought a different kind of war, one that required patience and cunning instead of speed and courage. The tower fell right on schedule, sending a column of smoke into the sky. Across Europe, alien communications went dark for several hours. It was a small victory, but it was part of a larger pattern. Humanity was learning to fight a war of attrition. They couldn't match the aliens in direct combat, but they could make the occupation expensive and difficult. Every destroyed supply convoy, every sabotaged facility, every fallen communication tower made the aliens. Task Harder. High Commander Vexter was beginning to understand the true nature of his enemy. Humans didn't fight to win in the traditional sense. They fought to make victory as costly as possible. It was a strategy that the Empire had never encountered before. Most species valued their lives above their freedom. Humans seemed to value their freedom above their lives. As the 6th month of the occupation ended, both sides prepared for the next phase of the war. The aliens were gathering forces for a final push to crush the resistance. The humans were preparing. Their most desperate weapon yet. The real war was just beginning. The resistance had found something terrible in the alien computers. Dr. Wong stared at the data on her screen, her hands shaking as she read the translated documents. The truth was worse than anyone had imagined. They're not just occupying us, she told President Martinez over the encrypted communication link. They're planning to relocate the entire human population to labor camps on other worlds. The president's face went pale on the video screen. How many people? Everyone. Every man, woman, and child. They want to empty Earth completely and use it as a military base. The revelation spread through the resistance network like wildfire. The aliens hadn't just come to conquer Earth. They had come to steal humanity's entire future. President Martinez made the hardest decision of her life. Authorization Code 77 Alpha. Release the biological weapon. Dr. Wong felt sick as she prepared the final version of her virus. It was more deadly than the first version, spreading through the air like a common cold. But it would only affect the aliens. God forgive us, she whispered as she handed the vials to the resistance couriers. Within hours, the weapon was being deployed in every major city on Earth. Resistance fighters released it into alien bases, command centers, and patrol routes. The virus spread silently and invisibly through the alien ranks. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos watched through binoculars as the first alien patrol began to show symptoms. The tall gray creatures stumbled and fell, their advanced technology useless against a microscopic enemy. It's working, she told her team. The virus is spreading faster than they can contain it. But the aliens' response was swift and terrible. High Commander Vexter, watching his troops die from an invisible plague, made a decision that would haunt both species forever. Begin systematic bombardment of all human population centers, he ordered. No prisoners, no mercy. The sky above. Earth filled with fire. Major San Rodriguez had survived the destruction of Luna base and now led a resistance cell in the ruins of New York. He watched in horror as alien ships began dropping massive bombs on the city's remaining buildings. They're not trying to occupy us anymore, he told his men. They're trying to kill us all. The bombardment was unlike anything the aliens had used before. Instead of surgical strikes, they were carpet bombing entire neighborhoods. Buildings that had stood for centuries crumbled in seconds. The death toll climbed into the millions. But still, humanity fought back. Captain Jake Harrison launched his makeshift fleet from Asteroid Base 7 in a desperate attempt to stop the bombardment. His ships were no match for the alien fleet. But they had one advantage. They had nothing left to lose. All ships target the bombardment vessels, he ordered. Ramming speed? The battle above Earth was a suicide mission, but it served its purpose. Every alien ship destroyed meant fewer bombs falling on human cities. Jake's pilots flew their ships like guided missiles, crashing into alien vessels with devastating effect. Jake himself piloted his command ship directly into the side of an alien cruiser. The explosion lit up the night sky, and for a moment, the bombardment stopped. But there were always more ships to take their place. Dr. Wong worked frantically in her underground laboratory as the city burned above her. The alien plague was spreading through their ranks, but it wasn't fast enough. Millions of humans were dying while the virus took its time. "We need something faster," she told Peter Clark. "Something that can stop them immediately." "What about the atmospheric poison?" Peter suggested. "If we could release it into the air, it would kill every alien on the planet in hours." Lisa looked at the formula on her computer screen. The atmospheric poison was her most dangerous creation. It would make entire continents uninhabitable to alien life. But it would also destroy Earth's ecosystem for decades. "We'd be trading our world for our freedom," she said. "What world?" Peter asked, gesturing toward the ceiling as another bomb exploded nearby. "They're destroying everything anyway." High Commander Vexter stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the data streams from the planet below. A human virus had killed over half of his ground forces, but the bombardment was achieving its goal. Human resistance was crumbling under the assault. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Imperial High Command," his communications officer reported. The holographic image of Supreme Admiral Korthik appeared on the bridge. The highest military authority in the Zephyrian Empire looked displeased. "Explain to me why this primitive world is still resisting after 8 months," the Admiral demanded. "The humans are unusual," Vexter replied carefully. "They continue to fight despite impossible odds. I don't care about their motivation. I care about results. You have 48 hours to end this resistance, or I will send the Death Fleet to sterilize the entire system." Vexter felt a chill. The Death Fleet was the Empire's ultimate weapon. 1,000 ships designed for one purpose: complete planetary destruction. If they arrived, not only would humanity die, but Earth would be reduced to floating debris. "I understand, Admiral." The transmission ended, leaving Vexter alone with his thoughts. He had conquered dozens of worlds, but none had cost him as much as this small blue planet. The humans had killed more of his troops than the previous 10 conquests combined. On Earth, President Martinez received reports of the alien ultimatum from her intelligence network. The Death Fleet was real, and it was already moving toward Earth. "How long do we have?" she asked General Adams. 6 days, maybe 7. The President looked at the map of Earth on her wall. Red zones marked areas under heavy bombardment. Blue zones showed remaining resistance strongholds. The blue zones were shrinking rapidly. "What about the atmospheric poison?" "Dr. Wong says it's ready, but using it would be ... The general struggled for words. "It would be the end of our world as we know it." "What world?" the President asked, echoing Peter Clark's words. "They're destroying everything anyway." In the ruins of London, Sarah Murphy led her resistance cell in a final desperate mission. The alien command center in the city was coordinating attacks across Europe. If they could destroy it, they might buy time for the atmospheric weapon to work. "This is a one-way trip," she told her team. "Anyone who wants to leave can go now." Number 1 moved. They fought their way through the alien defenses, taking massive casualties. Sarah herself was wounded twice, but she kept moving forward. The mission was more important than any individual life. The command center exploded in a brilliant flash, taking out several city blocks. Sarah and her team died in the blast, but their sacrifice disrupted alien operations across the continent. Dr. Wong made her final preparations for the atmospheric weapon. Once released, it would spread across the planet in a matter of hours. Every alien on Earth would die, but the planet would be poisoned for decades. "Are you sure about this?" Peter asked. "No," Lisa replied. "But I'm sure about the alternative." She loaded the poison into dozens of delivery systems scattered across the globe. In 6 hours, they would all activate simultaneously. The aliens would have no time to escape. Captain Jake Harrison's son, Billy, had been only 10 years old when the invasion began. Now, 8 months later, he was helping the resistance in the asteroid belt. Children grew up fast during wartime. Dad, are we going to win? Billy asked as they watched the latest battle reports. Jake looked at his son, trying to find words of comfort. But there was no comfort to be found. Humanity was dying, and everyone knew it. We're going to make sure they remember us, he said. Finally, we're going to make sure the whole galaxy knows that humans never surrender. On Earth, the final phase of the war began. The atmospheric weapon was released at exactly midnight, Greenwich Mean Time. Within hours, it spread across the planet like an invisible tide of death. The aliens began dying immediately. Their advanced technology couldn't protect them from a poison that attacked their basic biology. Within 12 hours, every alien on Earth was dead, but the victory came at a terrible price. The poison that killed the aliens also destroyed much of Earth's plant life. The sky turned a sickly green color, and the air became difficult to breathe. High Commander Vexter died in his flagship, never understanding how a primitive species had managed to defeat the mighty Zephyrian Empire. His last transmission to the Imperial High Command was a warning. Never underestimate the humans. President Martinez made one final broadcast from her bunker as the poisoned air began to seep through the filters. We have won, but at a cost no one should have to pay. Earth is free, but it may not be habitable for much longer. The Death Fleet arrived 3 days later to find a dead world. The alien ships detected no life signs from the surface, but they also detected no signs of Zephyrian survivors. The humans had achieved something unprecedented. They had defeated an Imperial invasion force. But as the alien ships prepared to sterilize the planet anyway, they received a message from the depths of space. It was Jake Harrison, broadcasting from his hidden base in the asteroid belt. This is Captain Jake Harrison of the Human Resistance. Your invasion force is dead. Your commander is dead. Earth belongs to humanity, even if we die defending it. The message continued, broadcast on every frequency the humans could access. You came here thinking we would be easy prey. You thought we would surrender like all the others. But you were wrong. We are human, and we do not surrender. The Death Fleet. 2 years had passed since the Death Fleet retreated from Earth's poisoned skies. The planet still hung in space like a green and brown wound, its atmosphere toxic to most forms of life. But in hidden bases throughout the solar system, humanity endured. Captain Jake Harrison stood before a gathering of the last human survivors. There were barely 3,000 of them left, scattered across dozens of asteroid bases and space stations. They were all that remained of a species that had once numbered in the billions. The long-range sensors have picked up something, he told the assembled crowd. Ships are coming. A lot of them. The survivors felt their hearts sink. After 2 years of peace, the Empire was returning to finish what they had started. How long do we have? Asked Colonel Maria Santos. She had survived the final battle on Earth, and now commanded the largest resistance base in the asteroid belt. 4 days, maybe 5, Jake replied. But these ships are different. They're not Zephyrian. Dr. Peter Clark, who had taken over Dr. Wong's research after her death, studied the sensor data. The energy signatures don't match anything in our databases. Could be another species. The survivors prepared for the worst. They had weapons and ships, but not enough to fight another war. If this new fleet was hostile, humanity's story would end in the cold darkness of space. But when the ships arrived, they did something unexpected. They stopped at the edge of the solar system and sent a message. The transmission came in perfect English, though spoken by a voice that was clearly not human. People of Earth, we are the Corvani Republic. We have come to honor your sacrifice. Jake felt his hands tremble as he activated the communication system. This is Captain Jake Harrison of the Human Resistance. State your intentions. We come. In peace, Captain Harrison. Your species' resistance to the Zephyrian Empire has inspired rebellions across the galaxy. We are here to help. Over the next few hours, the full story emerged. The Corvani were one of dozens of species that had thrown off the Empire's rule in the 2 years since Earth's victory. The human resistance had become a symbol of defiance that spread across the stars. The Empire is collapsing, explained Commander Thale, the Corvani leader. 47 worlds have declared independence. The Emperor himself has been overthrown. Jake could hardly believe what he was hearing. You're saying we won? Not just won, Captain. You changed everything. No species in galactic history has ever chosen extinction over slavery. When word of your resistance spread, it gave others the courage to fight. President Martinez, now the leader of humanity's remnant government, spoke from her base on one of Jupiter's moons. What about Earth? Is there any hope for our world? Commander. Thale's expression grew sad. Your planet will not be habitable for centuries. The atmospheric poison was too thorough. But we can offer you something else. The Corvani had come with an offer. They controlled dozens of worlds, and they were willing to share one with humanity. It wouldn't be Earth, but it could be a new home for the survivors. Why would you do this? Maria Santos asked. What do you gain? Honor, Thale replied simply. Your species paid the ultimate price for freedom. The least we can do is ensure you survive to see the galaxy you helped liberate. But the offer sparked debate among the survivors. Some wanted to accept immediately, eager to start rebuilding their civilization. Others insisted they should stay in the solar system, close to their poisoned homeworld. Jake found himself torn between hope and loyalty. Earth was dead, but it was still Earth. Could humanity truly abandon the world that had given them birth? The debate raged for days. In the end, it was the children who made the decision. Billy Harrison, now 12 years old, and one of the few human children born since the invasion, spoke for his generation. The grown-ups keep talking about going home, he said at a gathering of survivors. But this is our home now. The stars are our home. Maybe it's time to stop looking backward and start looking forward. President Martinez called for a vote. The result was close, but clear. Humanity would accept the Corvani offer and begin again on a new world. But before they left, there was one last thing to do. A memorial fleet assembled in Earth's orbit, ships from dozens of species that had been inspired by humanity's sacrifice. The Corvani were there, along with the Deltari, the Yasim, and representatives from 40 other worlds. Each ship fired a salute toward Earth, bright beams of energy that lit up the poisoned atmosphere. It was a funeral for a world, and a celebration of the spirit that had died to save it. Jake stood on the bridge of his new ship, a gift from the Corvani Republic. Through the viewport, he could see Earth one last time. The planet that had refused to bow, the world that had chosen death over slavery. Goodbye, old friend, he whispered. The memorial fleet turned away from Earth and headed toward the stars. Behind them, the dead world continued its lonely orbit around the sun, a monument to the species that had changed the galaxy forever. The journey to New Terra, as the human colony world was named, took 6 months. The planet was smaller than Earth, with purple skies and 2 moons, but it was beautiful in its own way. More importantly, it was free. The first human settlement was built on a hill overlooking a vast plain. The colonists named it New Hope, and above its main gate, they carved a simple message. Here live the children of Earth, who chose freedom over life. In the years that followed, the colony grew and prospered. Human children played under purple skies while their parents built a new civilization. They learned the stories of Earth, of President Martinez and Dr. Wong, of Captain Harrison and Maria Santos. They learned about the world that had burned so they could be free. The Galactic Republic that emerged from the Empire's ashes was built on principles that humanity had died to defend. No species would be enslaved. No world would be conquered. Without choice. The right to refuse, the right to resist, the right to say no became the foundation of interstellar law. And in the center of the Republic's capital, on a world 1,000 light years from the solar system, stood a monument to Earth. It was a simple globe of blue and green stone, surrounded by the names of every human who had died in the resistance. At its base was an inscription in every language. Known to the galaxy, they demanded submission. Earth refused. And in burning, it lit the fire of freedom across the stars. Jake Harrison lived to see his grandchildren born under purple skies. He died peacefully at the age of 93, surrounded by family and friends. His last words were about Earth, the world he had never forgotten. "We kept our promise," he said. "We made them remember us." President Martinez founded the New Terra University, where the history of the human resistance was taught to students from across the galaxy. She lived to be 102, spending her final years writing the definitive account of Earth's last war. Maria Santos became the first human general in the Galactic Republic military. She never married, dedicating her life to ensuring that no species would face what humanity had endured. Her military doctrine, based on the lessons learned during Earth's resistance, became standard throughout the Republic. Billy Harrison grew up to become a diplomat, helping to negotiate peace between former enemies. He often spoke of his father's courage and his mother's sacrifice, reminding the galaxy of the price that had been paid for their freedom. The human colony on New Terra thrived, but they never forgot their origins. Every year, on the anniversary of Earth's final broadcast, the colonists gathered to remember the world that had died for their freedom. Children who had never seen Earth listened to recordings of President Martinez's last speech, learning about courage and sacrifice from voices that had been silenced decades ago. And in the deepest vaults of the human archives, carefully preserved, were samples of Earth's soil and water, seeds from Earth's plants, and genetic material from Earth's animals. Someday, when the poison finally cleared, humanity might return to their birth world. But that was a dream for the distant future. For now, it was enough to know that Earth's sacrifice had not been in vain. The galaxy was free because one small world had refused to surrender. In the end, the Empire had demanded submission. Earth had refused. And in burning, it had lit a fire that would burn forever in the hearts of free beings across the stars. Story of humanity's last war became legend, passed down through generations of children who would never know slavery because one species had chosen death over chains. And somewhere in the cold darkness of space, a poisoned world continued its eternal orbit, silent and still, but not forgotten. Earth had refused to bow, and the galaxy would remember.